Hello, everyone. We want to share some thoughts on this new moon. So we have this new moon in Aries. Mercury just passed Chiron. This new moon is squaring Pluto. And here's a little insight on just the Aries energy. There's a natural process for all of us of not really knowing what's going on, not really knowing the path, not knowing the plan. We're just jumping into experience, and we're learning through the sometimes volatility of what arises, what emerges. We're going to find ourselves contracting, coming into defense, coming into control, coming into judgment. And all of those experiences, they can temporarily feel like there is a quality of disorder, a quality of pain, a quality of struggle, a quality of war in our own lives, which feels very antithetical to what we're trying to realize, to a deep inner knowing of what this is actually all about, who we actually are, being in that state where we're in a struggle with reality. And it's just true for all of us that there's a certain point and threshold where we don't know any better other than to come into control, come into fear, come into defense, come into judgment. We're basically needing to say, for me to feel secure, I need to control the content that's arising in life, in my relationships, in my experiences, to be a certain way. And I just think that there's a certain quality to this soul journey where these experiences are actually just chipping away at our resistances. And as long as we don't actually burn bridges, go too far, right? There's this process in the journey, especially when you have Pluto and Aries involved so strongly, where there can just be so much intensity, so much trigger, so much hurt. And in that state of mind, we don't have clear perspective. Like, we don't really know what's happening for others. We don't even really know what's happening for ourselves. There's that teaching in A Course in Miracles. I see only the past. What I see is a form of vengeance. I don't know what anything means. In our profoundly subjective, reactive experience, where we're just feeling a lot of sensation, we don't really see what is and what's true, the deeper dimensions of our life and who we are. And so this chipping away can be this process where we are gradually becoming more self-aware. There's like a deeper story underneath all of the triggers. There's a deeper story underneath all the places that are incredibly uncomfortable. And I once heard an analogy, and this kind of feels daunting on some level, but I also feel it's true. And when I'm honest about my own path and just kind of what it takes, what this is all about, I find truth in this. It goes something like, spiritual awakening is like a bird sweeping and landing on a mountaintop, right? Each time it lands, it rubs a little bit of the mountain until it totally smoothed out. Just like the imagery of, and I'm getting this wrong, this is not actually how the analogy went, but it's something like that, right? It's just imagine a drop of water dropping on a very rough surface. How long will it take for this drop to actually make such an imprint where that surface becomes softened? And it's the interface between our life experience and a quality of self-awareness that we haven't yet accessed. And the extent to which we haven't accessed is where there's going to be fear, where life will be unsafe in our minds. And there's just something useful in having a ground in an understanding of the greater process, even while we can't see it, so that we're not making it more difficult than it necessarily needs to be. In fact, we could even say, like, how difficult does it actually have to be? One of the challenges with this particular configuration, I feel, can be being so identified with the unsafety, with the hurt, that we act in ways that are incredibly hurtful and harmful, even to the point of, pulling the trigger, metaphorically, right? Just like, done, burning the bridges. And that's something we all do. We see this happen. We've done this. We've seen other people do this, where we make really harsh choices and decisions in our life that have really grave consequences. And consequences are just in time, meaning everything that happens is just a time thing. It means it's going to take a lot of time for healing and resolution to kind of unravel the pieces. So just, that's what's here for me, just appreciating with compassion that the messiness and the struggle that emerges on this journey is just a part of the unraveling. And there's something peaceful in being able to meet it, and then to come back to that place of, okay, here's the prayer that I come back to. What's your will for me? What's your will? How do you want me to see this? How do you want me to see this person? How do you want me to see myself? How do you want me to see the situation? So there's a little bit more of a wedge between our immediacy, which comes from a level of unconsciousness that we haven't grasped, the impulse to react and act in the ways that we do. A little wedge between that and just this deference to a greater perspective that knows more than we do, holds all the pieces, and just, coming back to that strengthens our understanding. It strengthens our capacity to be in challenge. That's a part of the journey. It's challenging. We're going to face elements that we haven't integrated yet. We're going to face places where it feels profoundly uncomfortable. So to face that, just to create a little more space, just that practice of coming back more and more quickly, whatever mess there is, whatever we've created in our fear. I just feel this is like hopefully a loving and gentle teaching right now with this particular lunar cycle, with all the strong Aries energy, all these planets moving into Pluto, to square Pluto, especially while Pluto's stationing to go retrograde pretty soon. So it's a lot of subconscious content wanting to be processed right now. The gift always with a lot of Aries energy is just, it moves a lot of energy forward. So there's a possibility for deepened awareness, deeper knowledge, deeper perspective, right? Furthering the evolutionary journey, to the extent that we're rooted in the intent to evolve. All of this can then be a healing process, though uncomfortable. Anything you want to share?
Yeah, the phrase that just came to mind is that truth always wants to find a way out. So there isn't any way in which we can be living our life that is not congruent with the truth of who we are. And thus, if there is anything that's out of alignment, it wants to find a way out. The truth will want to find its way into the center of our life. And that can come through these purging of unconscious material. I thought, it's like Pluto is kind of like the bulldozer pushing us forward through this subterranean matter, and with Venus making the first and most exact square to Pluto. It'll be Venus first, then shortly after the new moon, the moon, and then the sun, and then Mercury will make its way through the square. And so it's like one by one, we'll find more and more and more of what's not true about who we are, wanting to push its way up. And it's like the extent to which we identify with what comes up as like, this is the truth of who you are. This is like, you make me feel unsafe. You make me feel this. We lose sight of the truth that's actually burgeoning within us.
Burgeoning.
Burgeoning.
I've never said it out loud.
And it's so freeing when we're on the other side, but while we're in the midst of it, to be conscious. This is why they often say don't make decisions when you're in a heightened emotional state. Don't send that email if you feel angry. Don't cut off, the other and end things from a place where you're not actually connected to that peaceful center inside. There may be a strong impulse to do things, and it's like we have to find ways to express that, to give voice to that, to actually, whether it's finding someone to speak to that is completely neutral and like actually just sharing what's arising in a space of total safety. There has to be, the truth has to find a way out. But what has to come between us and the truth is moving through all that stuff that has, and like when Ari was saying, it's sort of chipping away layers of the unconscious. It really is. If there is a stone that's hardened around the heart or around the exterior of our sacred essence of who we are, that has to get chipped away in order for us to know the truth about ourselves. And the process of chipping it away at times can feel rather painful, can feel chaotic and disruptive to what we know in life and how we feel safe and secure. And that's exactly what life is giving us. I see with all these planets in Aries right now, the medicine is all there. It's like having the sickness and the medicine in the same place. And we have to stay with it long enough to take the medicine, to be willing to allow the natural process of healing, to allow the miracles that want to occur naturally. That's their function. That's how life works. Healing is inherent. Sickness is the abnormality. And so this is a great process of healing with Chiron there, with Venus there. And the Chiron journey through Aries is a much longer transit than this particular lunation, which is a short and incredibly powerful initiation into a new phase of healing.